Hello everyone. In this video we're gonna see how to explain your current project or your recent project like a pro, like an expert. Most of us would be suffering in this field when in an interview when people ask you uh, explain me about your current project, then the uh, thinking starts in our brain, what need to be said and how to explain and all. So this video would be much helpful for the freshers who just completed that recent project and trying to uh, explain the project in the interview. So when the start, so to explain your current project, you first need to understand what's your project and what it would be the entire architecture of your system or any other project, and I mean the IT project. So let me explain that. Whenever, suppose you are working in a system or your current project is already in live, okay? I mean, it's already on live. Live means that it's released and it's available for the customers to use. In that case, um, if you build that project, if you claim that you build the project from the core, it means that you have built the entire system from the base, include writing everything from the scratch. In that case, you might be explaining this video much clearer than me, but this video is some for the people who work in the current project, um, where they have give their efforts in building some of the major applications or products in the existing live website or the project. Okay, so let's consider for any kind of IT project, the architecture of the system will be in this way. There will be a web server. This would be like an imaginary or an point or a place which is a center, which is a main point or the head of the system. If your project is already in live, then clients might type something like www.google.com. Okay, then this is called the URL, and this when you put in the excuse me, and when you put it in the URL and when you click and enter, when a customer clicks and enter, then this will go to the web server. So during this process, there is a another line here, or like an this is called the firewall. So the request should cross the firewall, and if it is safe request, then this goes to the web server. This web server is like a head of a person, or like a main thing which gets the faces the request from the customer or the client. So this processes the request, and this is an application which was installed in any other device like our own laptop. Suppose we have a laptop, and we install an OS on this to to interact with the hardware, right? Most of the people are familiar with Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 10. Those are the most familiar and most used OS. And currently, I'm using the Mac OS. So these are all the OS installed on the every system to communicate with the hardware. So here we when a request comes in, and there will be a web server which is installed on top of a system. This system could be just like any computer. Okay, so this is a OS. Okay, this OS could be anything like Linux. Some of the servers could be on SunOS or Ubuntu or uh, mm, can be also Windows servers, or any type of software. Okay. On top of that, they installed the web server. So these web servers, this can be like a Apache, or any kind of web servers. You can search it in the Google about the web servers. You will find various server names. Let me just go through that here. So this is a list of web servers: Apache, HTTP server, or these are like Tornado, Ningex, Jetty, various. There are various. Anything can be used an web server. This is just like an interface which handles the things, the request which comes from the client or customer. Okay. So this server will handle the request, and then it would process the request and sends this request. Based on the request, it would send it to the next level or the next phase, which is called an application server. The types of application servers could be anything again. So this is just like a software we're putting in on a system on the same OS. So they can again be Apache Tomcat, Oracle WebLogic, Glassfish. Did you see all of the names? So they can be anything. Apache, Glassfish, Oracle, um, WebLogic, or Amazon WebSphere. Okay, so this will process the incoming request sent from the web server. So here the internally the request is sent in form of an um, HTTP protocol on the based on HTTP protocol, and the format can be anything. And the application server will validate or process or does the functionality which is requested from the web server and processes to the next level. I'll call it as an RDMS or ORM tool, ORM. And again, the database server can be of anything. Okay, there can be DB2, MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, and SQLite. They can be anything. I mean, these are all the softwares, and the important questions when then asked in the interview, they ask like, hey Joe, what is the web application um, you have used in the current project? So I should come up with an answer like, yes, I have used the Apache, and on top of the OS which we are using as an Linux OS, we have set up a web server. and install an Apache web server on that. And they keep asking you another question like, hey Joe, what's the application server you have used in the current project? Then I come up with an answer: yes, I have used Oracle 10G application server in my current project. So you can come up with kind of answers when you know the entire flow of what is happening when a request comes in and what happens when it gets into the system. I mean, so we have seen one way flow of the entire request, and when the request is processed, then the processing will be in the following type. I mean, if application gets the request, and it would redirects the performs the logical operation, and if it needs some data to build up, then it gets into the database and process the query we input or the query needed, and brings the data here. And then from here it would send back the data to the web server in the form of here comes the web applications, web services like SOAP or REST. There's a whole bunch of things need to be discussed regarding the SOAP and REST, which I can explain you in the other session. The server sends the response back to the uh, web server, and web server then replies back to the client or the customer in the form of HTML, XML, JSON based on the PDF. If it isn't report, it sends back in the form of PDF. So this is the overall one kind of explanation of your project. So in total, you can explain the entire project in this way. Hi, in our current project, when a customer sends a request, then we have an operating system of Linux, Red Hat, and on top of that, we have installed the web server, application server, and the database server on the same machine. And here, the web server is the Apache web server we are using, and this would handle all the request and then sends to the application server, which we are using as a Oracle 10G. So here we are using both the database and the application server, same, that is the Oracle 10G. And a part of this, I have a beautiful document downloaded from a place, and that would illustrate you much more in detail about the project. You can explain. So this is the diagram I'm talking about. So the web server tier, this is the first tier when you get the request. So here the Apache web server, they are using, just like I said before, most of the people will be using Apache web server. This sends the request to the application server. Don't get panicked by seeing all these little boxes here and there, and the arrows coming and going from the boxes. These are just like an independent applications reside placed on the app server. So app server is just like any other software, like a Microsoft Office or like any other software put on the same OS. Like I put the Microsoft Office on a Mac OS. Okay, so this is the app server placed on the particular OS. So, and this is also DB server when you have placed on a particular OS. You might have learned this during your tutorials that you install a database server on your laptop, right? Do you remember? And you might have also installed the Apache server on your same laptop local, and you call it as a local deployment. So you develop the application also in the Eclipse and deploy the same application on the Apache. You might have done all of this, but the same scenario will also be reflecting in the real time. That is, either the same laptop. If I say laptop, you might be having a clear idea. So the same computer might having the same web server with a limited resources like a 10 MB, and the app server might be having 100 MB. to process or something like that. Or this can also be in a different machine, like my friend's machine. If I'm doing a project, I can have my web server on my machine, and it is connected to the app server I installed on the let us suppose the Oracle 10G I have installed on my friend's machine. So the application which contains all the business logic will be on my friend's machine then, and the database server will also be installed in some of my other third friend, okay, in his laptop. So we have three laptops, three friends. The, on my laptop, let me suppose I'm the team lead, and so I have installed the web server on my laptop. And when the customer sends an request, this request my laptop processes and send it to my first friend's machine, which who has the application server. So if a customer asks, um, show me the weather report, and my application, my web server process the request and send it to my friend's machine. Laptop processes the request, and it fetches the data from the second friend's machine that today's temperature would be like 10 degrees or 20 degrees centigrade, and then it brings back to the first friend's machine, and it get back to my laptop, and then it processes to the customer. This is how the three layers, or all of this can also be in my laptop individually too, if it depends on the business and the architecture. You can support your answer by any of the possibilities. You just need to be confident on your answer. So these are all the different kind of individual standalone applications residing on the app server. Okay, so the request comes here. The request never goes to any part of the other boxes than this. So it comes first to the Oracle, WebLogic, or any kind of application I discussed before, and this processes uh, to the other kind of applications, and then or it would direct fetch the data from the Oracle database. Oracle, so here comes the part. What kind of tools will you be using at what places? You might be listening a lot of stuff like MyBatis, Hibernates, right? NoSQL. So all these ORM tools, it comes into the picture at this point when a request need to be handled, when object Java object or any kind of language object need to be interact with the database. We can use any of these tools, so you can mention them. I have used this or JDBC plain connections. Okay, and you might also be listening about the frameworks like Spring, Struts, and various other frameworks. So this would be uh, uh, here. I mean, the UI part or the front end part. Spring also integrates with the Hibernate. Spring alone can handle the entire thing too. It's just a framework. Like when you construct a building, you will have a blueprint or the framework before construction, and the entire building will be constructed based on that. In the same way, the springs or struts will provide a framework, and we need to follow that framework, and the entire application will be built on that framework. So the spring or struts comes into the picture over here, and the web services here. Well, as I told, these all can be in individual systems. Like this entire thing can be on my friend's laptop, or this entire thing can be on my other friend's laptop. You can, and in the application server, when you get into the application server, you might be having plenty of applications, and all of them can be placed in a single place. And if you think like it's too much to search when a request comes, if a person search for the weather report, and and I have placed the weather reports and the climatic conditions, No, that's bad. The weather reports or the statistics of the people living in my area, the statistics of the economical economical things like my budget and all. If a request comes in and I just need to process the um, just need to process the uh, weather report, then I don't need to search for the economical database or the other things to be processed. So I'll install this in a particular container, rather than installing another container. So this is how we this is pretty much how you can you can get a clear idea on your project. Now you can play with the interview. I wish you all the best for your further interviews, and thank you for watching.